got the kids napping so I can finally make this video. Hey guys, what's up? It is Sabrina here and welcome back to another video on my channel. Today is going to be another exclusively pumping video. This is going to be one that goes into my series, which I have a playlist for on my channel. I decided to film a bunch of videos about exclusively pumping and my journey as I'm going through it for the second time, because I know there's a lot of moms out there who either want to know more information about it or are in the midst of it, who just need some encouragement and just want to find a community of fellow exclusively pumping moms. Today's video is going to be why I chose to exclusively pump for my baby. I think it's very important for moms to know all of their options, and exclusively pumping is an alternative option to breastfeeding if you still want to give your baby your breast milk. This is just me sharing my experience and hopefully it can encourage some of y'all who are in the same situation. So I have listed out here 6 reasons as to why I'm exclusively pumping. There's really only one major reason, which is the first thing I'm going to tell you guys, but there are a lot of components that go into it, and most of these are just honestly things that I prefer when it comes to exclusively pumping that make my life a little easier. So yeah, let's just get right into it. The number one reason why I exclusively pump, which is honestly why I think a lot of women exclusively pump, is because I had difficulty with latching my baby. This is my second baby and my second time around trying to latch them. My first never latched properly and this one never latched properly. It was always just a very painful latch, very shallow latch, so there was inefficient milk expression. There's nothing with my anatomy or their anatomy that's prohibiting it. It's just that the babies do not latch, and it's extremely painful because it's such a shallow latch. I don't know what to do about it because I've gone through so many lactation consultants, you guys, so many. And while some have been more helpful than others, it still has not worked out. The latch is just not working. And I know what a lot of people say, like, just hang in there. It's always hard in the beginning, just keep going. And part of me was like, I definitely could keep trying. The difficulty with latching has just been the biggest thing holding me back from nursing, because it's never been just like, oh, a lactation consultant comes in and helps me and now I got it. It's like, no matter how many we went through, it was still so difficult to get them to latch properly, and they were very inconsistent with it. The second reason, which kind of goes along with the first, it is I can fully empty out the breasts completely, resulting in less risk for clogged ducts and mastitis. So with my first child, I had mastitis, I think 6 times. 2 times so severe I had to be on antibiotics back to back, and then 4 times more mildly, and I was able to cure it at home. But y'all, if you've ever had mastitis, you know the pain, you know the fear, and you know the effect it has on your milk supply. And so after going through that so much with my first, I decided this time that exclusively pumping is going to ensure that I can fully empty out the breast. Especially with my first, I nursed her for about 2.5 months, and I did not pump after she nursed, and so she had a terrible latch. She was not expressing milk out enough, so there was so much milk left. I kept getting clogged ducts and eventually got mastitis so many times with her. So this time around, I'm 4 weeks postpartum. I've never had any issues with either clogged ducts or mastitis because I pump very often and I pump consistently and I fully empty out. I feel like with nursing, with both of them, I tried nursing him for like 4 or 5 days. They just never emptied me out, and there was so much milk left in there. And I know you can pump after, but it was just really difficult. Part of it also is I know that your supply regulates after 6 weeks, so a lot of people are like, well, you just hang in there and then you won't have the issue of so much milk. But the problem with that is I wanted to also build a freezer stash, so I didn't want to get rid of all the extra milk, but it was just so hard with nursing to fully empty out. The third reason is that I can control my schedule and how often my body produces milk. So because I'm pumping, I choose when I pump, and my baby eats every 3 hours during the day and every 4 to 5 hours at night, but I pump every 2 hours during the day and every 4 hours during the night. And so I am very consistent with this. I chose to pump every 2 hours, and the reason for that is to build up a freezer stash, and so I'm producing a lot more than I need to, but that's okay. I want to do that. The ability to control how much your body produces with exclusively pumping is so easy. You can definitely pump also in addition to breastfeeding, but for me, I did not want to do both. Like, it's either all nursing or all pumping. I don't want to mix the two because it's just too crazy and hectic to try and do both. So I love that about exclusively pumping. You know, you have your schedule. You can go every 3 hours if you want to, depending on if you want to increase your milk supply, if you want to maintain it, if you want to decrease it. With exclusively pumping, you control exactly how often you pump, and therefore it tells your body how much milk to produce. Number 4 is to build a huge freezer stash. So again, because I'm pumping so often and getting so much milk, I can put a lot of that into my freezer. I freeze, I would say, about 25 to 30 ounces a day, and then 25 to 30 ounces is what my baby eats. So I'm making about 50, 55, maybe sometimes more than that a day, and that's because I pump so often. If I were to pump every 3 or 4 hours, I don't know if I would get this much milk. Building a freezer stash has been really convenient with exclusively pumping because I'm already doing it anyway, so any extra milk that I have, I can just throw in the freezer. I don't have to nurse and then get to that. Number 5 is that the feedings are a lot faster with a bottle. So I do want to just say that as you nurse, your baby becomes better acquainted with latching, and they can empty you out in 5 to 10 minutes. I understand it can get really easy and smooth the older your baby gets with breastfeeding. I've never been there, but that's what I've heard. However, just especially in these newborn stage, when you are just so tired and you need that rest, nursing used to take me like an hour to an hour and a half to do, whereas with a bottle, it is 20 minutes. 30 max, and that has helped me so much to be able to sleep and not have to spend so much time up with him. My goal is to have 30 minutes up per feeding session. He eats for 20, I burp him, I pump while he eats, and then I put him back to bed. So that has just been really nice, is to have these faster feedings. It's really difficult when you're trying to be out and about or you're trying to sleep and then the baby takes so long to nurse. At least that was my experience, because my babies never fully latched correctly, so they were not getting enough milk out and it took forever. That's just been my experience, is the faster feedings with the bottle are so much better than sitting out there for a long time. And then the last thing is that it's just convenient with leaving the baby with people. This has honestly been my favorite pro about bottle feeding and pumping, is that I can leave the baby and other people can feed him. What's really been helpful is while my in-laws were over in town, they would take the baby, like my husband would bring out the baby in the morning, so I could sleep in as much as I needed and the baby still had food. My husband will sometimes take night shifts, so I still get up to pump, but I get up and pump, and in 20 minutes I'm back to bed, whereas my husband will bottle feed him, burp him, change him, and then put him back down. So that has also aided in me getting way more sleep this time. I can go on date nights, I can spend the whole day away if I need to, as long as I have my pump with me and I'm emptying out wherever I am. The baby can still get food. I have a freezer stash, so there's plenty there. So it's just having that flexibility with feeding and having that help. Like, I'm not the only one in charge of feeding my baby, so therefore I get a lot of help with that. Honestly, that's just been such a blessing, is to have help, because I've been sleeping so much better. These are all of my personal reasons, but I'm gonna add one more for those of you who are wondering. But a lot of mothers go back to work, and so that's another reason for exclusively pumping, when their baby can't be with them and they still want to make breast milk for them. And then obviously exclusively pumping comes in great during those times. So that is all my reasons for why I exclusively pump. Like I said, it's mainly just the first one I mentioned, is he just didn't latch properly. If he did, I probably wouldn't be exclusively pumping. And then everything else that I mentioned is just pros that I see as pros that go into that. There's so many reasons why women choose to exclusively pump. Some have no issues with latching, they just prefer pumping, and that is totally fine. Whatever you need to do to get your baby fed. I love that I can still give him my breast milk and he can still eat from me even though we're not nursing. So it's just been a really good experience so far. Hopefully this video could be encouraging for those who needed it. And just so you know, you definitely can still pump and give your baby breast milk. It is a lot of work, but honestly, the way I see it, it just becomes part of your life. It just becomes another aspect of taking care of the baby. I don't see it as a burden, I see it as a blessing. And sure, there are definitely some times I really don't want to pump, and sometimes I'd rather just hold my baby instead of pump, but I always just remind myself of the benefits and remind myself that he's getting a lot of milk with the bottle. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.